Welcome back to the All In Kosciusko podcast. I'm your host, Matt Deuel. Today, we're talking with Dr. David Hoffert, Superintendent of Warsaw Community Schools, and Heather Reichenbach, President of the Warsaw Community School Board of Trustees, about the potential renovation of Lakeview Middle School. This is a conversation about more than a building. It's about student opportunity, responsible long-term planning, career pathways, neighborhood development, and the future of Warsaw. We'll talk through the options being considered and how the district's 10-year facility plan could make a project like this possible without increasing taxes, and what a unified middle school experience could mean for students and families. Later, we'll also hear from Mayor Jeff Grose about how Lakeview's location near Winona Avenue connects to the city's long-term vision for that corridor. So let's jump in. David, Heather, thank you so much for joining us today on the All In Kosciusko podcast.
Thanks for having us. We're glad to be here.
Absolutely. Excited for our conversation today. And so full disclosure for our listeners, I do also serve on the school board along with Heather. We are two of seven
teammates.
Yes, exactly. But today I'm going to take off the school board hat and just serve here as our podcast host. So excited to hear from you all and your perspective for this project. So David, I'm going to start off with you. For someone who has just heard maybe bits and pieces, maybe some rumblings of a big project to come over at Lakeview Middle School, what would you say, just kind of from a big vision standpoint, what's the opportunity that's in front of Warsaw Community Schools right now?
Yeah, and this is a long time in the making. Lakeview was built in 1962. It's really interesting. Being a Warsaw kid, I actually was over at Lakeview in about 1992. So I was the second or third class after the high school transitioned over to the main campus where it is at today to go through the middle school. And I never realized, I didn't even think of it as a high school, but it has aged. We're at 65 years of age with the middle school. We figured it out, even bare minimum, we have had over 6 million student days that have gone through Lakeview.
Wow.
So here, really, over the last 10 to 12 years, we've been realizing that something in the future had to take place with Lakeview. We have a really strong 10-year facility plan, and grateful to our school board because that facility plan also looks at our finances and saying, what are the next steps? With Warsaw Community Schools having 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, a high school, a career center, an alternative center, there always has to be something going on because you're on a rotation of those schools, and you realize that if you get out of that rotation, it creates a hardship inside of the schools. It creates a hardship in the community and throws everything off. So Lakeview has been on that facility study, looking at it really over the last 10 years. And honestly, as we've gone through study after study, we've realized that maybe our initial thinking wasn't where we were going to end up at.
Okay.
I'll give you a funny story here. About 5 years ago, we started talking about Lakeview and some of the ideas, and maybe we needed to look at even a new school and abandon that property. I started getting phone calls asking if they could come pick up bricks. and we said, no. Now, we do have a failing wall over there that if you stand there long enough,
the bricks aren't attached. Yes, you may have them.
The brick might come down, but
an unauthorized commemorative brick.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
exactly. Right. But we said, you know what? We want to study this out. We want to understand. We don't want to be recreating something that is not forward focused. We also want to take a look at efficiencies. Our community, our state has challenged us in a lot of ways to make sure that we are ultra efficient in what we're doing. Because when we talk about Lakeview is not just the middle school. We also have 3 career center programs that are sitting there. We also have our alternative school that is sitting there. And we realize that we have 2 middle schools in a world right now where maybe it doesn't match the other middle schools in the broader area of what we're looking at. So is there a chance to not only impact one area, but actually impact probably 4 different schools at the same time in a moving piece, fully planned out, and making sure that we have the right for our community, we have the right for our students. We're doing the best thing all the way around in this. And that's really been what the study has been, and so grateful to our school board as we've gone through it. And I think you're going to notice from my comments, our thinking has changed from the beginning.
Sure.
And some of that is financial, some of that is efficiency, some of that is academic.
Okay. So we're going to talk about some of the different options and some of the different things that have come along. Heather, for you, from the school board perspective, Why is this important today? David mentioned that 10-year plan. Why is this time the right time for this?
Yes. So I think in having a 10-year plan, it's really important to start thinking, for instance, if you will, say that you're in a football game and there's 4 quarters, right? And everything that you do in the first quarter is going to impact the second quarter and the third quarter and the fourth quarter. But you know what the goal is at the end. You want to win the game and you want to cross that ball across the line for a touchdown or a field goal. And so I would consider us right now as a board with discussions about facilities and things like that are on the longer term plan would be like a middle school in Lakeview. Like we're in the first quarter. And what this allows us to do as a board is start making decisions of, like Dr. Hoffert intimated, like if we're moving to a different facility, maybe we're doing more Band-Aids right now with repairs on projects like an HVAC or a leaky pipe or something like that.
So just kind of taking that process to say, when are we moving from Band-Aids to longer term solutions?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's great. So David, walk us briefly through just some of those options. As you know, it became apparent that we do need to make a decision. We do need to start to progress forward in what we're doing. What's the path been, and what are some of the options that have revealed themselves through it?
Yeah, as we knew this was on the 10-year facility plan, when we started going into the high school and doing our renovations there, we said, should we go into Lakeview at the same time? And it goes back to what Heather was talking about with Band-Aids. We realized very quickly that there was so much infrastructure work that would take place that we needed to make sure that this was a long-term investment that we were looking at. And so here about 6 years ago, we started doing site visits. We've traveled all around the state of Indiana to visit other middle schools that are there, ones that are like Lakeview, that maybe was an old high school. Plainfield High School that turned into Plainfield Junior High is a perfect example of that. We looked at new ones, Goshen Intermediate School. We looked at renovated and new, like LaPorte Middle School. We went down to Hamilton Southeastern and saw some of their programs that they had. We looked at alternative centers, career centers as well, because we knew that these were all part of the project. If you were to ask me 5-6 years ago, I would have told you, we're going to move north of town. That's where there's a bigger population center. We keep 2 middle schools in place. And, we're going to just build a new middle school out there. And it'll be a new Lakeview. It won't be in front of a lake, so it won't be called Lakeview, but it might be called Field View or, something other creative like that.
Yes.
But that changed very quickly. And the reason why it changed is as we started going through some of the financial pieces of it, we realized that there was an incredible cost, but we still weren't getting what we were looking for.
Yeah.
On top of that, we had other multiple pieces in the Career Center, the alternative school, and just efficiency of programs that very much said, if we go back and stay at a 2 middle school makeup, we're going to be missing out. And a perfect example of this is the academics. Right now over at Lakeview, we have dual language immersion.
Yes.
At Edgewood, we have extended STEM programs.
Okay.
Every year I have parents coming to me saying, I want to be at Lakeview, but I want more STEM.
Right.
Or I want to be at Edgewood, and I want that dual language immersion too.
Yeah.
And you look at that, and sometimes there are choices in life, but you start saying, you know what, especially at that middle school age, we want to be able to provide as many choices as we possibly can.
Yeah.
On top of that, we have some efficiency issues that are taking place with the Career Center. Every day we are driving buses back and forth all day long. Right now we know how much fuel costs, and we know how hard it is to even find drivers, and we know the academic time that takes to be able to load up kids on a bus, move them over there.
And the safety of doing it all the time.
Ending class early and coming back. As we looked at even potential new land north of town, and then we started looking at other places, and we're like, oh, this is a great field. It would have the acreage that we need, but then all of a sudden we're like, ugh. It doesn't have water hookup. It doesn't have the sewer hookup. And I mean, we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars additional to the cost to be able to...
Before the building's even built.
Yes.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so as we started looking at Lakeview and we started having more of the conversations of it, Lakeview was built very solid. And some people have heard me tell this story. We had the Gass family. Before Mr. Gass passed away, he came in and brought a picture that had been hanging on his wall of his family donating the land where Lakeview is at. And I mean, what a cool full circle moment. I didn't know that he was getting towards the end of his life. We just sat down and I said, tell me more about this. And he said, hey, in the late 1950s, this was a gravel quarry. And he told me, he goes, this is going to be solid land up here. This is where you want to build at. He goes, but you might want to take your own soil samples now, 75 years later. And I'm like, okay, we'll trust you. But I mean, he was right on with what he was saying. But he was very proud of that land that was there and talked about the walkability for inside of the Warsaw community. Talked about the pride of when that school was built. And you go in there and they're building materials that frankly in 2026 can't happen in schools. Okay, terrazzo floors all throughout, cinder block everywhere that you go, built very strongly with brick. And as we're looking at even some of the new construction, we're looking at that saying, wow, that's not possible really in today's world.
Today. Yeah. It's and those materials are elite status when it comes to school finances. So but it's still solidly, as a structure, very healthy and safe for kids. And so it's why wouldn't we invest in that type of facility?
Longevity.
Right.
Longevity. I mean, we're looking at 65 years. When we make these renovations, we would like to see this last another 50 years. That's the goal. Anytime that you have architects that are with you, before you look at the next renovations, you're saying, what does another 50-year plan look like for this school?
Yes.
And so the long and short, there were kind of 4 different options out there. One was the new school. And as we looked at that, we slowly just started narrowing it down and saying, you know what, that's really nice. And it's fun to start off with a new house. It's fun to start off with everything new. But yet it doesn't match what we're needing.
Right.
We could keep Lakeview the exact same and still have 2 middle schools, but we're missing some of that efficiency.
Sure.
We're missing some of those pieces. So we've kept that on the table and we've said, you know what, this could be a possibility. And any of the fixes that we're doing now, back to the point of, you know what, we're keeping the building going, are going to be needed if it stays a standalone Lakeview. Or the 2 other options that we had is, do we do a combined school over at Edgewood? Or do we do a combined school at Lakeview? And the reason why the Edgewood got knocked out, Edgewood was not built with some of the solid materials, and that's good and bad. You can move walls really easily, but they are drywall. They are not cinder block wall. They don't have some of the longevity. It would work really well if we needed to open up spaces because it was built as an open concept school. The other thing that we know about Edgewood, as the architects took a look at it, they said we could add on to the building, but then you're completely out of space. The other issue that we have is, and I will tell you, every morning when I wake up and I come to school, I purposely go to the right and I go get coffee and then I come back. Okay.
No
and the
left
reason
turns.
why is because you can't make a left turn and the traffic is going to be bad and it's going to be quicker for me to drive all the way over to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, get a coffee and come back. And I have everything timed out because starting at about 7 a.m. in the morning on the south side of town, traffic gets congested. And if we tried to put a joint middle school on the main campus,
we're adding hundreds of more people.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it. But as we look at a joint middle school over on the Lakeview space, Geneva Lane, we have stacking space. So we could be able to provide all of the school, all the cars off of that property. We've already been able to work with the city. We've been able to talk to them about what this could look like. We've been able to talk to the Winona Avenue committees, and I know that's something that we want to talk a little bit more about later on. But I ran into one of them yesterday, one of the business owners, and just the excitement that they had in the idea of revitalization. And we learned that, and it was something near and dear to our heart when we asked the community to come alongside us and support Lincoln Elementary. We said, we're doing this, but we're leaving it here. We're leaving it as a community neighborhood school. Infrastructure comes around that, whether that's new sidewalks, whether that's new crosswalks, whether that's street paving, whether that's walk to school programs, all of those things. A rising tide lifts all ships. And we see that happening, and we believe that that's what could take place here over in the Lakeview and Winona Avenue and Smith Street corridor.
And that's really been the blessing, I think, for board, back to the long range facility plan, and what that allows the board to do is that through those, consecutive visits around different middle schools, or thinking about the different spaces and places that we could be, it allows us to prepare and not make gut decisions. So we're thinking about what is the model of middle school that we would like to have for the next 50 or 100, and where is that best showcased at? And so we're not making any decisions based on a roof collapsing or a water main leaking, and then all of a sudden it's just what's the easiest or most cost effective. It's actually also what's best for the kids in the community and the programming.
Yes.
So that's the other advantage of having a 10-year facility plan, is that even before things are happening, you're starting to make some of these moves and planning accordingly. So that's what's helpful for the board.
And even as we talk about planning, this is the interesting part. Even as we're going around and talking to people, they're like, okay, when this all happens next year, and we said, whoa, stop.
Yeah.
This is a 5 to 7 year plan. Yeah. From this point. So it is not something that is taken lightly. It very much follows the methodology that we used at the high school. That was incredibly successful because we realized that academics still have to take place inside of all of these schools.
Yes.
We can't just all of a sudden move it.
Cancel school for a year.
Yeah, cancel school for a year. Where does the Career Center go? Hey, I want to do welding and machine. Sorry, we're not going to have that for 3 years because we don't have that built. So there's a lot of pieces of this that both financially, to make sure that we're staying within our means and inside of our tax structure. But then academically, making sure that we don't have disruptions and we don't shortchange one generation for the next generation.
Yeah, great. So as we look at the potential of the unified middle school option at Lakeview, David, you kind of touched a little bit on it, but what are some of the things that just really stand out in terms of just the benefits, the positives from that academic side, that programming side, some of the extracurriculars, just those types of things?
I would say that one of the things that I think sets Warsaw apart from other opportunities or areas is that our wide variety of programming. So the fact that we can have full and robust programs with many different lines, right? So in fine arts and music and sports, but also in science. And so instead of just having one science class, you can actually have 5 at the middle school level. I mean, where else can you do that? But that's not done well if you only have 1 or 2 kids in a class, and it's not efficient for taxpayer dollars to have 1 teacher for 2 kids. So where is that synthesis of the crossover between that sweet spot of opportunities for kids and the community, but also the opportunities for the school finances of making sure that we're aligned together in the priorities of, when I think of school board, what we have is our priorities are what's best for kids, what's best for staff and teachers, and then what's best for the community. And then those 3 priorities have to be overlapped with our financial
reality.
Right.
Yeah.
And stewardship.
Sure.
And so when you can have all of those 3 align, that is a huge win for the community. And it feels like some of the things that we're getting to and moving towards allows that. And part of that is being efficient with programming. We have a couple of, it's not all about sports, but we have a couple of teams that can't quite field a full team at both campuses. But what if those campuses were together? What could happen?
Heather said that so well. I mean, I wrote down the words choice and opportunity. We can be able to provide more opportunities with the same staffing that is in there. And efficiency, I mean, when we look at it from the nuts and bolts tax dollar side of it, we have to be efficient. Senate Bill 1 has asked us in many ways that as a school system, you have to find efficiencies out there. In your operations fund especially.
Yes.
We have to find efficiencies that are there. And we're looking at this saying, this is low-hanging fruit. This is a double win when we can provide better academics, better programming, more tailored to our middle school students. And at the same time, we can do it for a more efficient standard.
Yeah.
That's a double win for our community.
Yeah. And still be robust in quality. I mean, it's one thing to offer lots of things and not have the capacity to do them well. It's like this would give us the opportunity to do it well too.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so I know the question that's going to be at the top of everyone's mind from the taxpayer side of things is what is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
So we've talked about that 10-year facility plan. Help educate us just a little bit about how that works and the tax impact for a project like this.
Absolutely. And we want to match both of those things up together. It's one thing to say, hey, I want XYZ, but I don't have the money to do it. All right. And schools are a taxing entity. Our tax dollars come from a number of different areas. So we really have three major funds that are set up. Our education fund comes straight from the state. So that pays for our teachers, that pays for everything that is inside of the classroom. We then have an operations fund, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is the operating of the school, but it's not for major projects. It is set for, you have a roof that needs a patch.
A boiler that breaks.
One boiler that breaks. Yeah, normal snow plow service that you have, mowing your yards, your custodial staff, your maintenance staff. That is really
Painting, yep.
that is really that part of the operations fund. And then you have what's called the debt service fund. And the debt service fund is that tax that comes here locally that says this is to put back into the schools because you never get to retire. We're going to be going into our 183rd year of public education inside this community.
Wow.
And, Warsaw Community Schools will long outlast any of us.
Sure.
Even if we become record setters and, we are here for the longest longevity, it is still just a blimp in Warsaw Community Schools. And so that is set up really as a long-term investment in our community. Now, when we look at that, we want to make sure that facility study and our financial studies are matching up. So have we paid off the previous projects?
Yeah.
And as you pay off those previous projects, it provides you the capacity without impacting the tax rate to be able to do some of these projects.
The next project. That's part of the plan, not just because we want, but because that's the next step in the plan that we have. Yes. Yes.
And it's the way that tax structure was set up. Now, there are school systems that are out there, and again, I don't want to speak negatively about any other school systems. Again, that is not what I'm saying, but they might be in a different financial state than what we are. We hear, there's a lot of news stories of there are so many schools going out for operating fund referendums because of what Senate Bill 1. We have made a lot of those changes inside of our school, and we've planned accordingly for that.
Yeah.
And not saying that we don't have to tighten our belt or not saying that there aren't some hard choices that we have to make, but we are not one of the schools that is going out for a general fund operating referendum. When we look at the longevity, these next steps, we know that it has a price tag to it, but we're actually looking at our tax rate not changing whatsoever. Okay? It is not impacting what we are doing because it's part of that financial plan that we've had of saying, okay, you know what, some of these things came off. Now we're able to think about the next generation. Let's make sure that we stay inside of our means. One of the other questions I get is, David, why don't you do it all in 1 year?
Sure.
And we talked about the academic standpoint of it, but we're also talking about the fiscal standpoint of it.
Right.
Because if we went out and said, okay, we're going to do all this in 1 year, it could raise the tax rate here inside of our community.
Yeah.
Because we're saying we don't have that tax structure that same way.
Right.
We don't have it leveled for that. We don't have enough projects that have fallen off. So we're saying, okay, we're going to be fiscally wise in this as well too, that, although it might be nice to do it all in 1 year or 2 years, as we go out and we even ask for this and ask for permission to take those next steps forward, we're looking at a 5 to 7 year model to be able to get to our end goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Without impacting the taxpayer.
Without impacting the taxpayer.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. So, I'm just thinking of maybe an example to kind of relate it back to. We all see the beautiful new entrance of the high school that recently completed, one of the bigger projects completed recently, right? And maybe something that people don't know is we've renovated almost every classroom inside of the high school as well.
Correct.
Those projects took place over the course of many years.
Yes, they did.
And financially operated exactly the same as what
Right.
you're talking about with this project.
This is exactly the model.
Yeah.
And not to drop names, but I will say Jim Masters, who has been running a lot of our building plans, he will look at anybody and say, you know what, we have a track record of success.
Yes.
And the reason why we have a track record of success is we have people that are here in the community that love our community, that love our schools, that want to see the pride take place in any of our projects that we have.
Yeah.
And that means that we're going to get input from our teachers. That means we're going to get input from our community. That means that we're going to stay inside of our norm.
Right.
I always, Matt, have people come back after we have a game in Carmel or something else like that, and they come back and they're like, "Can we get one of those?" And I'm like, "No, we can't. We can't." I'm like, you know what? That's really nice. And
Willy Wonka with a golden candy wrapper or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. But there are things, and I mean, we can be very proud of our facilities that we have, and very proud of our community. I mean, 183 years of public education inside of this community. I think our school buildings and our facilities that we have says a lot about our community, our local investment in the next generation, because we want these students to stay around. We want them to have the pathways that they need. We want them to have the academic offerings that they need. And we're proud when other schools come to us and say, we want to replicate something like that program. What do we need? And facilities don't change everything, okay?
Sure.
But they do provide some of the opportunities. And we have to make sure that our facilities are not falling apart. We need to make sure that they are maintained correctly.
Because that's when it costs money.
That's when it costs money.
If things are falling apart, or if something's not maintained, or if you're not kind of continuously reinvesting, then that's when the big price tag item repairs come, or that's when all of a sudden it's not as financially doable, like at the current rates.
And you have to do it all in 1 year.
Right.
I mean, back to the idea of not being able to plan
It's an emergency.
And if it's an emergency, all of a sudden, that's when you're going to your community saying,
Yep.
whoa, we didn't financially plan for
Right.
this. We did not put this in place.
Yeah.
And this has really been our commitment as a school board and superintendent and administration of, we want to make sure that we're leading the way. We want to make sure that when somebody comes out and sees one of our projects, they say, wow, you got a great deal for that. It was a strong investment in our community, and you did it right.
Yeah. Yeah. But inside of that also, I think, Heather, to your point, there are things like repaving the parking lots or replacing some doors. And those are all smaller things embedded into that 10-year plan as well, correct?
Absolutely.
You know what? We have every roof mapped out on the age, the projected lifespan, when it would need to be replaced, because those all go into the budget things. It's all things that you don't see. I mean, this summer, we have started phase 1 at Lakeview, and it's to the point of whatever direction we go, we have to have these things fixed.
Yeah.
It is piping and tunnels.
Yeah.
All right?
Right.
Not a whole lot of fun. People are seeing cranes on the outside, and some people are like, oh, does this mean you guys have started? Are we combining schools this next year? What's happening?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we're changing piping and HVAC.
The infrastructure comes first.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So with some of these changes and with the potential of combining over at Lakeview, that means Edgewood's role changes in terms of a facility.
Yes.
So talk to us through that, the impact with, like you mentioned, Gateway, the Career Center. What are some of those things going to look like in the scope of this project?
Yeah, and we've had great conversations with both Lakeview and Edgewood. And the interesting part is we've talked to them and we've said, neither of your legacies disappear in this. The hard work that you put in STEM, the hard work that you put in DLI, the hard work that you've put in different relationship building, it would be bringing those things together. So from the middle school perspective, it's bringing them together. Now, it is never fit in a good fit for to have the Alternative Center and to have the Warsaw Area Career Center at Lakeview. It wasn't meant, but it was open space.
Right.
And it was space that as a school
efficient.
corporation we needed to use for efficiency, but it has never been the correct space. You go over into Gateway, they need a different space. You go over into our Career Center classes with welding and machining and cosmetology, and you know what? We've made do with it, and it's very nice, the equipment that we've been able to work with our local community to put in there. But the reality is it wasn't set up for that. So being able to have that on the main campus, so that we have kids transitioning back and forth. Warsaw Community Schools is really unique in having our own career center where we get to control it. Many schools, if you go to Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, South Bend, they share a career center. So they're limited in their number of slots that they can have and classes and pathways. we have that right here. And if we can have that right there on our main campus where kids can go back and forth really easily, we're not having to run shuttle buses all day long.
Right. They're not having to miss parts of their academic classes and things like that. They can just be there and done. And similarly for Gateway, we've got kiddos that maybe are at Gateway for part of the day, but then are back inclusion into another classroom. And it's like for them to have the opportunity to do that at a Washington or at a high school without disrupting their day by loading them onto a bus and then getting them over to the right place and settling them down again. Like it's best practice also for educating kids.
Great. So zooming out just a little bit, how does this connect to talent development, future workforce of Kosciusko County when we talk about these opportunities?
I'm super proud of our community, and it's something that we've been recognized for actually at the White House here a few years ago, was because of strong community partnerships that we have, whether that's ZB, whether that is Slate Automotive coming on board, whether that is Dream On Studios, okay? Because Dream On is working with our kids inside of our media classes. And, those type of investments, Zimmer Biomet just brought over 100 robotics kits. Just here this last week as part of their 100-year, going into their 100-year anniversary. We are very proud of that partnership, and that partnership is two ways, because we realize that our students are the most likely to stay here in the community. All right? Our students are the most likely to grow a family, even if they leave for a while, potentially coming back. That's the future workforce that we have. And so as they invest inside of our schools, and they have put a great investment in, they really have. If you go around, you see Lutheran Health Network. You see their signage up because they invest and they realize their phlebotomists, their next level of doctors, their next level of nurses are probably sitting in our high school and career center, or they might be sitting in our kindergarten class, 13 years away from that. But that creates that pathway. As we've talked to Slate coming in, they're very excited to get involved in our academic programming. Why? Because they realize that they're going to need people to do machine learning, a new terminology that is out there of the next generation of skill sets that we're truly providing opportunities to prepare our students for their future, not our past. And we need our local industry to be actively involved in that. So as we look at all these changes, as we look at the Career Center, as we look at being able to mold spaces in a very open building, which that Edgewood building would be, it gives us that opportunity. The other thing, and again, this is insignificant in all of it, and we don't have a name yet. Maybe this will be the creative part of this. I fully see it not being Lakeview and Edgewood.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
It could be Warsaw Middle School. It could be something completely different than that. But it's kind of when this would happen 5 to 7 years in the future, it would really be a new opening. All right? It would be bringing two cultures together, two different schools together that slowly live in the same town and only are about 1.5 to 2 miles apart from each other. But bringing them together and saying, hey, we're going to celebrate. This is a new opening that we have.
Excellent. So let's talk about people in the community who maybe do not have kids in our schools. Again, as taxpayers, there's an impact, right? And so why should they care about these projects and, maybe just vision for the bigger picture in all of it?
I mean, I think one way you can quantify that is, along with talent development and recruitment in the pipeline, is the way for a community to grow is to have kids come back or keep them here and recruit to the area. And I think one of the ways that we do that and that keeps everybody healthy and kind of spreads the responsibility for keeping a community is to have strong schools. And so I think even just having a healthy school district within our bounds really makes Warsaw an attractive place for people to move to. And when people are moving here or when they choose to stay here, we are able to grow, share the load of responsibility, whether that's paying taxes, right? Like the more taxpayers that you have in a community, the less everybody's having to pay for the services that we get. And so I think that keeps us young and vibrant. I think also just when you look at if there were to be a improved campus over at Lakeview, think about the ways that moves some of the traffic that you referred to earlier,
Sure.
over to more of the east side of town, right? So right now, one could say that we are capitalizing on some of the traffic that goes down south into the high school and Edgewood. Like those businesses down there get lots of attention. What happens over on Winona Ave? What's over there that kind of is pulling people that way on their daily route? And so I think in those ways, that's a win for the whole community as well.
Well, you two perfectly set up our next segment and just talking about that community impact and specifically over on that east side of town. Lakeview sits just one block south of Winona Avenue, which is part of a much bigger conversation and a corridor project that the city is taking on. I was so grateful to go sit with Mayor Grose to talk to him about what he's excited about with this potential school project and then the bigger vision for Winona Avenue. Let's take a listen. Mayor Grose, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Good morning. Privilege for me to be here too. Thank you.
Awesome. So as we are talking about the potential of renovation over at Lakeview Middle School, would love to hear from you. What excites you from the city standpoint and just community development perspective?
Well, first I want to say, don't forget I was a 35-year teacher, now retired.
Yes.
The importance of educating youth, providing facilities, doing it the right way, meeting kids where they are and helping grow them. Thinking about school, where the high school is, where our two junior highs are, obviously as mayor, former councilman also, infrastructure is a high priority. How do we help young people? Years ago, Winona Avenue it was put on the radar and targeted as an infrastructure improvement project that's desperately needed. Not only just the infrastructure itself, but also the connection between two communities, Winona Lake and the city of Warsaw. There's just so much traffic. There's just so much happening there on Winona Avenue. So we've been looking at that. And now I think about the school reevaluating how things are working with our two middle schools and potentially Lakeview becoming the one where all of the middle school kids go. Obviously, it's ramped things up. I was briefed last fall, my team visiting with Dr. Hoffert, and we went through several hours. What maybe is going to be considered, maybe is going to be done. Jeff, we want to make sure you and your team are aware of it. We know you are doing things back to Winona Avenue. And it's been real helpful. And there's so many things that are going on, but in a positive way, I think it could force our hand, which people on Winona Avenue traveling or businesses, residents, boy, I'd like that. Yeah. And I think the school would appreciate it as well. So hopefully working together, hand in hand. It's never as fast as everybody likes, but over the next, I think, 5-10 years, people are going to see a lot happening on Smith Street. And people are very likely going to see a lot of things happening on Winona Avenue to benefit all of us.
Absolutely. I love that. So with that excitement, momentum, there's some ORI dollars from that fund. There's some Catalyst Corridor from Grace coming in, just the collaboration. And then my mind goes to, for these businesses over there, the impact of these families, these students coming together in this area of town. As you know, schools are a community gathering place.
Yes.
A lot of people over there. Talk to me about just, the impact of just seeing that shift over there.
It's really exciting. Multi-millions have already been targeted to Winona Avenue to help us put even more multi-millions in that direction. Just momentum there. And then I think of Lakeview, where it is, the old timer here, that was the high school when I was a boy. I grew up on Main Street. I was one of the kids that not only walked when I didn't have a car to school, or I got in the car with mom and she took me to school, but then also when I started driving, that's where we all went. And I just think if we end up seeing that become the one middle school and you see potentially 1,000 students, they grow their double in population, it's going to be an anchor. It already is, but it's going to be even more so for the entire community. We're just finishing up track and baseball, just activities during the day and then after school. That is going to be a place where a lot of people are going to and leaving, and it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, Dr. Hoffert and Heather spoke to that 10-year facility plan. And, I think what's exciting to see, because I know the question that everyone's going to ask, what is this going to cost me, right? What's the tax impact? And so with that 10-year facility plan, seeing that this project at Lakeview can happen with no impact, right? So what would you love for the community to understand? Because it's big dollars, it's big projects, but as you mentioned, we're trying to build things that live beyond us, right?
Exactly. Dr. Hoffert, the current school board, previous school boards, again, I worked for the school system for 35 years. There's a lot of planning that goes on, financial planning, working with guidelines by the state, working with local dollars. These buckets or silos, it's very complex, but it isn't just, let's just come up with this and let's throw millions on the backs of the taxpayers. It is very well thought through, very, very smart people assisting with it to give the taxpayers a better understanding of how all of this is going to be paid for. The fact is we have to pay for it. Public schools, we need to educate our youth, and it's going to have to happen. It's important, former school teacher, mayor, community leader, that I remind people that, again, this isn't just something they're pulling out of their hat. Hey, we need X amount of dollars. A lot will be going on. And what I like is, and what you're hearing is, because of this, the impact on the taxpayer's tax rate, little to none, if they can work through this over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's exciting. And people need to know that. How are we paying for this? How is all this going to work? And how much are you going to take from me? Well, we always do that out of love of community and love of youth. We are doing the best we can, the least amount of burden on all taxpayers. That's happening. I know it. And people can say, I disagree. Okay, go ahead. You can disagree with me. But I see it, I've done it, and I have a great deal of respect for it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So for you, as that 35-year teacher, talk to me about the investment into our kids, into our schools, what it means for our future hires, right? That retention, that growth of our community.
A huge impact. There was a remodel at the high school about 4 or 5 years before I retired, and it had a major impact, our department, our wing of the school, and all the remodeling that's been going on, a major impact and a positive impact on just the culture, the environment right in my own classroom. It changed the way I taught. We're still take them where they are and grow them. It's still academics and growing the mind, but you have to have a good environment for the kids and up-to-date environment. And I just think that, a lot of people say, well, why do they need this? Why do they need that? Well, look at the world we're living in today.
Yeah.
And not only for the students, but like you said, even teachers, what does the facility look like? Where am I going to be working each and every day?
Yeah.
And if you want top-notch young people to come into this community, live, work, play, you've heard me preach that.
Yes.
Become a neighbor that's serving other neighbors and cultivating community. You have to have up-to-date facilities. Why? Because others are doing that. And again, the demand is there. Demand for what? Educating our youth and preparing them to become the next doctor, the next police officer, the next mayor.
Yeah, I love that. So as we wrap up our time here, for you, someone who born and raised here, grew up, went to school in that building, your kids have gone to school here in our school system. If we were sitting together here 10 years from now, what would success look like to you for that whole corridor, for that whole area? What excites you about the future?
I would hope that 10 years from now, whether I'm here or not, but decisions we're making now, Winona Avenue will see the public infrastructure upgrades. There will be more investment, private sector investment, and quality of life, more opportunities, not just to and from Warsaw and Winona Lake on Winona Avenue, but things to do, that investment on Winona Avenue. And then thinking of the school, am I excited that they're wrestling with, and would I be in favor of a one-stop for middle school, just what that means to educate all of our middle school kids there at Lakeview on that campus? That's very exciting, and that's something that I would support. Supporting it, though, I know it's so complex, difficult, the dollars like we've talked. I'm going to put my trust in the superintendent, the current school board, to start working through that. But to see it, it would be really exciting. It's an upgrade, redevelopment for that part of our city and the school system.
Absolutely. Something we can all be proud of.
Yes, there you go. You say it better than me. Good. Good.
Well, Mayor Grose, thank you so much for your generosity of time. Thank you for the many years of investment into our community, our students, and for your leadership here today as the mayor. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolute privilege.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you so much, Mayor Grose. We appreciate your time. So David, Heather, as we wrap up our conversation here today, what strikes me is this is really more than just one building, right? It's about education, talent, neighborhood development, stewardship, community pride. As you all think about this, what's the bigger story that you really hope people hear and latch onto in this?
Well, I think it's what Dr. Hoffert had said earlier, in that, or to kind of expand upon that. I think the schools exist for the community. Whether your kids are in the school, whether you have grandkids in the school, whether you're going to watch a tennis match or you're going to the fine arts showcase, we are helping make our community a better place. And so we want to be the best that we can be, so we can have the best community that we can be.
Yeah.
And one does not exist without the other. And so just the opportunity to kind of seize upon the different connecting points that we would consider maybe hubs in our community, downtown, the high school, Winona Ave, Winona Lake, up north towards Wagonwood, like all those places, like just kind of being team players and all of that makes us stronger together. And I think that's how I want Warsaw Community Schools, like the role to play in the community.
I love that.
I think for a lot of our patrons here in the community, this is not a new idea or new concept. They know that we've been talking about it. As we said earlier, they're waiting to get a brick, from the old school or do something that way. But, a lot of this process has seemed very slow to get to this point, because it's bringing in a lot of different voices. It's bringing in the financial voice of the taxpayer. It's bringing in the academic voice of a student or a teacher. It's bringing in the research of going to multiple locations and making sure that we're doing this right with the best practices and the best ideas that are out there. It's bringing in the idea of a vibrant community and a place that makes us all proud in what we're doing.
You were going to say all in.
All in. Yeah, you know what?
Not
It
to
makes
be
us all
tried,
in. Oh, you know
but-
what? Maybe we should record this, and yes, we could give a catchphrase and make it just seem natural. But yes, we're all in, and we're all in for the next generation.
Yes.
We're all in for that bigger purpose. But to do that, it takes that equilibrium and balance of all of those different areas, whether it's being mindful of the tax dollars or whether it's putting a facility plan in place that ensures that our kids have the right academic standards and the right academic opportunities. Or seeing how it redevelops and working with the city or the county on different issues that come around, because we could say that we're doing this one piece, but that still doesn't mean that some of the other infrastructure around it is fixed. So it's all working together in tandem. To make sure that we're all headed in the right direction.
Excellent. I love that. And bonus points to Heather for being on brand. We appreciate that. Very good.
I didn't want to say it, but it was right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
I love it. Okay, so for anybody that is interested, wants to learn more, maybe has some questions, wants to just follow along with the process, what's the best steps for them?
Oh, my word. Call me, email me. I would love to sit down and just have a conversation. We've given a number of presentations out in the community. We've given a number of presentations at board meetings, Winona Avenue Committee, different government entities, different
Tiger
service
ambassadors.
groups, and individuals that were just interested. And what I've said is, hey, if we have anybody interested, let's go take a walk through Lakeview. Let me show you what some of this could look like. If you're interested in the tax structure, let's sit down and we'll talk about the tax structure. There is nothing hidden in what is being proposed or being looked at, because we can look at everybody and say, we've had financial analysts take a look at this and say, you guys are sitting in great financial health because of the pre-planning that you've done.
Yeah.
And to be able to support a project of this magnitude, okay? Nothing is cheap, okay? But to be able to support it, as Heather said, as an entire community without impacting tax rates, without impacting our tax levy, let us take a look at it. And, maybe there are different ideas. I mean, we've been going around trying to get as many ideas as we can. We've created an FAQ sheet that answers everything from what will my kid's sports team look like to what does the financial tax rate look like for Warsaw Community Schools. And we value those questions. We value those insights, and gives us an opportunity to share a little bit of our heart, our mission for the community, that why is this out of this process the best thing for our kids and our community.
Excellent.
Yeah, no questions too small. So I know the FAQ sheet, we update as questions come in, because if somebody has a question, there's probably 10 other people that have the same question. It's a nice resource to go back to. And then if there's other questions generated from that, it's certainly very easy to go back and add those too. So it's a great kind of rolling documentation of what's on the community's mind, what the community cares about. And it also helps us make sure that we're accounting for everything as we go through it. So it's been a great conversation to date, and it's just been a really healthy process that makes me really excited and looking forward to the future for our kids and our community.
Awesome. Thank you both. I can't thank you enough for your time. And more than that, I want to thank you both for your leadership. And I'll put my school board hat back on for just a second to say, serving with you both has been such a privilege. And I've learned so much from both of you and your leadership and the ways that you are so thoughtful and care so deeply for our kids, for our parents, for our teachers, for our community. So thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. We would love for you to continue to follow along the All In Kosciusko story. So please visit our website at allinkosciusko.com. We'll see you next time.